Most of us think if you are extremely intelligent, your life will be like a path strewn with roses and million-dollar checks. We look at people with high IQs and think to ourselves, I wish I had that brain. All financial troubles would surely disappear. But reality tells a completely different story. For many people with superior intellect, the very thing that gives them an advantage in thinking is the thing that creates a kind of silent suffering that few understand. Today, we are not going to talk about how being smart helps you earn money well. Instead, we will strip bare the hidden psychological struggles, the barriers that make a genius brain sometimes get stuck in a mediocre bank account. Let's start with the first battle, the curse of overthinking. Imagine Sarah. Sarah is an excellent software engineer in Austin. Her brain is like a supercomputer that never has an off button. When Sarah intends to invest in the stock market, she doesn't just buy a simple index fund. She starts analyzing the financial reports of 50 different companies, researching geopolitical fluctuations, and even worrying about the impact of a tax policy that might change 5 years from now. What is the result? At 2 a.m., Sarah is still wide awake, lying there staring at the ceiling and reanalyzing a conversation with her boss from 3 days ago, while her money still sits still in a savings account with an interest rate of nearly zero. Cognitive neuroscience shows that people with high intellectual abilities often have an extremely active default mode network. This is the part of the brain responsible for self-reflection and mental simulation. Simply put, their brains cannot stop running if-then scenarios. This turns a simple financial decision into a maze of complexity. They are not just investing. They are trying to decode the entire future. The second battle is loneliness in a crowd. Have you ever felt pain when having to participate in trivial small talk about the weather or the result of last night's football game? For someone with a high IQ, such dialogues are like torture. They yearn to talk about systems, the nature of money, or why social structures operate the way they currently do. In the financial world in the United States, networking is the key. But because intelligent people often find it hard to connect at a surface level, they are easily isolated. They can stand in a room full of investors in Manhattan, but still feel completely out of place because no one cares about the deep questions they are brewing. This loneliness is not because they lack skills, but because the gap between what they think and what society allows them to share is too large. Next is the paradox of self-doubt. Have you ever wondered why those who know the least are often the most confident about their financial advice? Meanwhile, the extremely intelligent get stuck in imposter syndrome. Because they have the ability to see every flaw in their own logic, they are too aware of what they do not know. The more they know, the more they see the financial market as a vast ocean full of risks. This authentic awareness, ironically, erodes confidence. They hesitate to put money into investments for fear of missing some variable. While a less intelligent person might have made a fortune thanks to naivety and decisiveness, our genius is still sitting there wondering if they are actually good enough to manage their own assets. Our genius is still sitting there wondering if they are actually good enough to manage their own assets. Do you see a shadow of yourself in these stories? If so, understand that you are not alone. And more importantly, your intelligence is not a defect. It just needs a slightly different financial user manual. But how to escape this paralysis? We will explore the torment of perfectionism and why ordinary jobs make a genius brain feel exhausted. The fourth battle that high IQ individuals often face is cognitive boredom. This isn't ordinary boredom. Research on dopamine sensitivity indicates that intelligent people require much higher levels of intellectual stimulation to feel rewarded. In the world of finance, this is extremely dangerous. You see, building sustainable wealth is often boring. It involves allocating a fixed amount of money every month into index funds and repeating that for 20 years. But for a person with a high IQ, This repetition feels like a neurological punishment. They become restless. They start looking for ways to optimize, experimenting with riskier investment strategies, or jumping from one market to another just to feel their brain is active. Here, we see many talented engineers or doctors lose money on junk cryptocurrencies or complex options trading, not because they lack knowledge, but because they are too bored with simple and effective investment methods. Next is escapeless perfectionism. An intelligent person doesn't just want to do well. They have the ability to visualize an ideal outcome in extreme detail. When reality fails to meet that 10-10 standard, they fall into a state of deep frustration. In finance, this leads to procrastinating due to fear of imperfection. You might spend an entire year researching retirement accounts, like a Roth IRA or 401k, trying to find the perfect time to start, but ultimately end up doing nothing. You fear that if you invest now and the market drops 2% next week, it will be a miserable failure of your intellect. They would rather stay out of the game than participate with a result that is only at a decent level. The sixth battle is sensitivity to injustice and irrationality. Those with strong pattern recognition skills often see the hypocrisy and injustice within the financial system with heartbreaking clarity. They clearly see how inflation erodes the labor of the poor, or how monetary policies favor large corporations. While others might shrug it off and continue working, intelligent people become obsessed with that irrationality. They feel exhausted from having to operate within a system they perceive as broken. This frustration sometimes turns into a negative attitude toward money, causing them to distance themselves from building personal wealth simply because they don't want to be part of a game they consider unfair. And perhaps the most surprising is decision paralysis. Do you think intelligence makes choosing easier? On the contrary, it multiplies the variables. A smart brain can see too many outcomes, too many consequences, and too many ways a decision could go wrong. Imagine you are facing two real estate investment options in Florida. An average person would look at the price and location. You look at sea-level rise trends over the next 30 years, Gen Z demographic shifts, and potential changes in state tax laws. The more clearly you see the big picture, the heavier you feel. You are paralyzed by your own analytical capability. The final and most profound struggle is the persistent search for meaning. According to Viktor Frankl, the primary human motivation is the search for meaning. For those with high IQs, conventional definitions of success in the United States, such as mansions and cars, often feel very hollow. They need a greater reason to earn money. If they cannot find the connection between the numbers in their account and their purpose in life, they will easily give up or work below their potential. This is exactly when you need to change your perspective. Consider money not as the destination, but as fuel for cognitive freedom. When you have strong finances, you have the right to choose difficult projects, deep conversations, and the space to answer the grand questions that your brain constantly yearns for. So, what should you do differently starting today? Accept good enough. Understand that in investing, perfection is the enemy of profit. Apply the 70-30 strategy. When you have 70% of the data, take action. The remaining 30% of risk is exactly the price to pay to obtain the opportunity. Don't let analysis paralyze you. Automate to save energy for creativity. Since your brain hates repetitive things, let technology do that. Set up automatic investments into index funds every time you receive your salary. Once the money is running itself, your brain will be freed to solve more complex problems where your intelligence truly shines. Seek out same frequency communities. Don't try to fit into surface-level conversations if they exhaust you. Look for in-depth investment communities and systems thinking groups. There, your intelligence is not a barrier, but a magnet attracting the most valuable resources. The truth is, intelligence is not a simple privilege. It is a way of experiencing the world that is full of gifts, but also full of costs. The same brain that can solve macro problems is the brain that cannot stop analyzing the smallest mistakes. Understanding these struggles does not make them disappear immediately, but it brings you clarity. And for a mind that always seeks patterns like yours, clarity is the greatest power. You are not too much, nor are you flawed. You are exactly the type of thinking that this world always needs to create real change. Use that intellect to build freedom instead of using it to build walls that separate you from success. Thank you for following Tony Invests Wealth. If you see yourself in these struggles, leave a message in the comment section. Who knows, you might find same frequency friends right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can decode the mysteries of money psychology together. See you in the next videos.